Hi, I'm Megan. I'm going to go over a lesson I did with first grade students on teaching them about family, culture, and traditions. To start off the lesson, I share with students different objects that represent my family. This is one of the objects that I presented to students. A lot of the students were able to identify that this was a gingerbread man, it was a cookie cutter. So I explained to students that every year on Christmas time, my family and I like to bake cookies, and we like to cut them out into different shapes. I use lots of different objects to share with students about my family. After that, I went into a definition of what a tradition is. I use lots of picture examples, so it will be very clear to show students what a tradition is and also what it is not. So for example, we looked at this picture and I told students this is a family opening presents every Christmas morning. I asked students to tell me a lot about the picture. A lot of students told me that the family is celebrating the holiday of Christmas. The family is celebrating, so I just charted some of the words that the students gave me. I also showed them a non-example of a tradition. So we looked at this picture. I told students this is a family brushing their teeth every morning. So I asked students, is this something that's special? Is this something that's celebrating the family's culture? And a lot of the students were able to tell me that brushing your teeth is something that you have to do. It's part of your everyday routine. It's not really something that's special, so therefore it would not be a tradition. After doing a couple examples like that, I decided to do a read aloud to really show students what a tradition was. I chose The Relatives Came by Cynthia Rylant. Throughout the lesson, I focused on talking about tradition, but also incorporating some language and literacy skills. Some of the skills I incorporated was going over visualizing, having students infer about the text, talk about main idea. During some parts of the lesson, I would do a think aloud, demonstrating some comprehension strategies. Some of the questions that I asked students was, for example, to tell me about the setting. So when do the relatives come to visit? So we looked a lot at the pictures to help us. I also talked a little bit about some of the problems that might occur when relatives come to visit. So for example, we looked at this picture. We talked about how when relatives come to visit, a lot of times there's so many people, there's not enough space. So you might have to share a bed with maybe one of your relatives. We talked about how it might sound like. There might be a lot of snoring. We said that the girl in the picture was probably awake because it was so loud, and some people might be kicking her. So a lot of the students were able to make text-to-self connections. And then lastly, I ended the read aloud by having students turn and talk to their partner. They had to tell their partner what was the family's tradition and also share their thinking. So how do they know? So I'll read the last page. It says, "And when they were finally home in Virginia, they crawled into their silent, soft beds and dreamed about the next summer." So a lot of students were able to say that the family's tradition is they have a reunion every summer. And how do they know? They know because the family is dreaming about next summer. So this is a tradition because a tradition is something that you do every year. After the read aloud, I wanted to assess students' learning. So I asked them to do a writing activity in which they were to share one of their family's tradition. I gave them paper that had a box for drawing because some of the students in the class are struggling writers. I also gave them a graphic organizer I created. This really mapped out for students exactly what I expected them to do. I wanted students to tell me who took part in their tradition, what do they do, where does their tradition take place, and also when does it occur, what season, or even around what holiday. I was happy with the way the lesson went. I think a lot of students were able to have an understanding of what a tradition was. A lot of them were able to see that they share similarities and also differences with some of their classmates. I really enjoy learning about the students and their family. So I think overall it was a really good lesson, and it was something that I would like to continue in the future.